All right, guys, today we've got something a little bit different. Now, we've compiled some questions asking you guys online, what are some things you guys want to know about? And I've got a wide range of topics here, but the point being is that you guys ask, I'm going to give it, so let's get into it. Now, the first question here is 2 of 2 DCH asking, OJ, how many pairs of glasses do you own? Now, honestly, I don't feel like it's enough. You guys see me in a bunch of different pairs of glasses every day. And for those of you that have gone to the big chain optometrical lens centers, probably know that glasses aren't cheap typically. And they can range from $350 to $500 or more per set. And that was kind of upsetting me. As you guys know, I'm in the shop all day. My stuff falls off, things get hit, and I got kind of tired of paying that big money to break stuff when I found a lot of these retailers that have popped up online where you can get lenses and frames for a really affordable price. I was getting 4 to 5 pairs, 8 pairs for the price I'd pay for one, and when I rotate them out every day, it just makes sense in order to get that. But with all that said, I probably guessed maybe about 45 pairs, which is a lot. Sacred Gear asks, and this is a good one, are titanium exhausts worth the money? Now, the short answer I'm going to give, if you're coming to me at Fluid Motor Union asking for a titanium exhaust, I'm going to tell you no. And basically, here's why. Now, we don't build a lot of these, but you guys have probably already heard this. They're a lot harder to work with. It takes a lot more man hours, and the materials are just more expensive in general anyway. So when you think of getting an exhaust done and you come in and we quote you on a stainless steel system and we give you back the quote for a titanium system and it's double what the stainless system goes, the first thing I hear is, well, for the price of your stainless, I could buy a titanium. Well, you're forgetting that that's mass produced. A lot of the stuff that we do, it's a one-off. We're doing it, doing all of the R&D at the time. You guys see it in film. So if we're doing that with titanium, being the fact that it's harder to work with, cost of materials work more. You guys have seen pie cuts, right? And the reason for pie cuts is the ability of titanium to bend and distort even when they're producing it. It tends to be more brittle, so they don't bend it as much. It takes more specialized machines. So a lot of fabricators will cut the titanium in pie cuts to make the same sort of bend. As you can imagine, that's going to be a lot more weld, a lot more welding filler, a lot more gas. Again, a lot more labor. The price skyrockets to essentially something that at best would sound the same. But I'll tell you why it typically doesn't sound the same, and it's getting back to the pie cut issue, which is all of those pie cuts add a point of distortion for an exhaust flow. Any bend you put in there, any weld, any extra material, you're taking away from the note of the exhaust system. Now, a bunch of you are gonna jump in the comments and tell me how great your pie cut system sounded, the one you built, the one that's on your car. Okay, that's fine, yours sounds good. But have you tried making that same system out of not bent titanium, not bent stainless? And the example I'm gonna give you is, name me how many classically recognized wind instruments have pie cuts in them, have a bunch of miter cuts or angled. You're not going to be able to find that. The main point of titanium, I would say, is always the weight reduction, but that's at the cost of its, its thermal conductivity. Because it expands less, it tends to be harder at the weld. The weld is actually the strongest point, and it'll crack away from the parent material if it rapidly heats and cools back down. So in essence, titanium can actually break more when you're welding it a bunch and you put all those welds on there. We see a ton of titanium exhaust cracks on aftermarket systems. So for us to go through all of the effort to make sure that we're going to have a system that we build for a customer that isn't going to crack in the future, that I can give a warranty on, it is going to be so astronomically expensive unless we have the pre-bent tubing and materials in order to make it to get the best quality sound, not the pie cuts. We're going to have a subpar product. Now, I would like to play around with some pre-bent, there are pre-bent tubes out there in titanium where we could build something. So if there was a customer with a cost is no option, I want it made out of titanium, I would love to try that out. But the problem is you're paying more for a benefit of titanium being lighter, and a lot of times it'll pitch higher because the wall is thinner. So Do the benefits outweigh the costs? I'll typically tell a customer no, unless you just want to say you have titanium, but it's not something that we typically recommend here for all of those reasons. The next question, Jose Rodriguez, Pi8CX asks, we're getting into megaphones here. Can you size a megaphone to cancel drone like using a quarter wave OAL? Now, what he's talking about is using basically a chamber in order to calculate the wavelength, in order to have it change the frequency at which a drone point will happen. Now, I will say, yes, it is possible, but here's the caveat to that. The amount of time and effort you're going to spend to try to affect that with the chamber, or this is even why I get into not liking Helmholtz resonators, is because the amount of time you spend to get that exact isn't worth the other remedies that you can do to cancel it out. You see it all the time with any sort of noise cancellation chamber, Helmholtz resonator, or even attempting to use a megaphone to try to cancel out a drone. Is there's calculations for length, calculations for RPM, but they're not affecting all of the weight of the filler material that you're putting into the weld, the jaggedness of the weld, the penetration, bends. None of the calculators out there for calculating drone can tell you what's going on when you bend a piece of metal, and I'll tell you right now, those bends have a huge effect on the piping sound. If I took two straight pipes and took one and just bent it back and forth, but they were the same exact length, they would not sound the same coming out. And that's the thing people get wrong again about equal length, piping and equal length. It's more or less the bends that you're putting in that system that's changing the sound, not the length of the pipe in the tube. So that's a factor that's really, really hard to model in a lot of CAD programs, a lot of finite element analysis. You'd have to put in so many variables and so many details that by the time you got all that info entered, like it might be a fun project if you had it on your own car and you spent that time, but it would never be worth it for us to do in a custom exhaust setup when I have all of this experience and I know other ways of canceling drone and getting rid of that sort of thing using things like steps in the rear, splitting the pipes. We go over it on our video, but it's not the most surefire way to cancel drone. I wouldn't suggest it. So is a megaphone a good drone canceller? No. But back to megaphones. Nolson asks, does adding a megaphone to the exhaust system add power on its own? Yes. And I actually got into this in our big viral megaphone video, that is the point of megaphones. That is why I got into using them in the first place, is they will add power almost to any exhaust system, but the caveat being is, do you have the space to place it right? The biggest issue we fight with as an exhaust fabrication place is we are always dealing with the constraints of the vehicle. Now, if we were making a tube frame car with the engine sitting there and I could build the car around the exhaust, you can do a lot of things to make an exhaust affect power up until a point till it's fully optimized. But unless that thing is open and you have all of the room in the world, you are dealing with the constraints of the car. If you're trying to get the exhaust system inside of the car and out the back, all of those bends, all of those turns, all of those things have an effect on exhaust. And the idea of placing the megaphone is to increase the exhaust gas velocity through scavenging, through that expansion and recontraction, allowing it to pull out a little bit more flow from the engine, keep the exhaust gas velocity high. But the problem with using megaphones for power is that it's only in a certain RPM window which you dial it in at. So putting this megaphone in, you have to know what RPM it's affecting, and the way you figure that out is either with calculation and a lot of details inside of the calculations you're doing in like finite element analysis, CAD, whatever you're using. You have to put all that time and effort to measuring, modeling, whether you're 3D scanning or not, and the engine variables, you're putting all of that in, a monumental amount of time in order to try to get that number, or you're just doing it the old-fashioned way, which is the way we used to do it, was move it down a little bit back, move it back a little bit, dyno it back and forth until you find that RPM. The problem though is that once you have that RPM that you're making power, it might be 2 horsepower, it might be 5 horsepower, it could be 10 horsepower, it might be 1 horsepower. You can usually find a certain amount of power using a megaphone in a specific window where it adds it to it. but is it worth the effort of cutting that exhaust out 10, 20 times to find that? Usually the answer is no. While we were doing all of this is where I learned that this Megaphone was changing the sound of the vehicle in a way that made it usually more pleasant, which is why we got into using it. And you'll see a lot of the times we end up gaining power because we're using them. But do I know exactly where the best spot to place them is? Always as close to the collector as possible. That's the rule of thumb, and wherever you can fit it. Other than that, I'd like to say it's more magic than that, but it really isn't. Where do you got the space? Try to find it in there. And then lastly, as far as the Megaphones go, are they the source of the power, or is it the entire system design and pipe diameter? Again, they're not so much the source of the power, it's that they allow inside the variables of an exhaust system a little bit more scavenging, so you can use that to your benefit in the system in order to make more power if the system is properly designed. Now, if you have a really bad choked up system and you put a Megaphone in it, you might find a spot that can make more power, or you might cause more issues depending on how bad what's behind it is. So is it the source of power? It can be, it just takes effort. All right, up next, another Megaphone question. JRNM505 asking, I got an LQ4, LQ9, 6.0 LS motor. He wants to know 3 to 4 inch cone or 3 to 5 inch cone, back to the 3. And what I'll tell you is on that size motor, starting with the 3 inch, you're going to want to try to fit as big of a Megaphone in the space that you can, as close to the collector as you can. The only reason we tend to go down is if the space constraints of the vehicle don't allow it, or the actual diameter of the exhaust system is smaller. So let's just say it's a V6 with, like that Acura, with 200 horsepower, the one that we did a while back. Basically, we wouldn't want to use 2 to 3 to 5 inch Megaphones on there. They'd just be way too big. So we'd want to start down at about 2.5 up to maybe 4, 4.5, and then back down to 2 if we could fit it in that spot, because 5 at that point would probably cause the exhaust gas velocity to slow down, because as it's expanding, it gets to a point where it's no longer pulling, it starts to back up because of that extra void to fill up, and it slows down. So, you know, you use it to a point, but it always has to be sized correctly. Switching gears here, I've got a question about 3D printing. Ekimbirik 7599 asking, with 3D metal printing becoming more accessible, do you see a future in printed exhaust components? We're already seeing it. You guys remember the Z-pipe that we did? That is a 3D printed component. I've put on some crazy exhaust tips that were 3D printed on McLarens and other fancy high-end exotic cars. I'm really surprised by what's coming out. There's places that I can send files to have my designs 3D printed out of metal in China and have that shipped back to me. CAD work and that sort of thing is something that I cannot wait to get more into. I've got a few designs for our Megaphones, our collectors, our merges that I'd love to try out as you see this channel grow, as you see we expand. There's a lot of things that I've got in the pipeline to try to show you guys. And 3D printing is going to be a big part of that. It's just, we're still a small shop. We're not there yet, but we will be getting there in the future. Justin Bridgewater 7055 asking, why make that, referring to that star pipe in the Lexus video, the GX460. I pretty much go over that in the video. It's more or less the constraints of what we were trying to do, getting the exhaust out of the side, but there's more in that video. Be sure to check it out. That car has almost 100,000 views on YouTube right now. It kind of blew up, so if you want to learn more about that, make sure you watch. 3Brady 387 asking, has anyone figured out a decent exhaust for the Audi 2.0 T? And in the day, we had a ton of those cars. We've done more than a few systems. It's not too hard if you've got the right muffling on them, but really what you've got is a case of a race to the bottom in that market segment. Because people expect the exhaust systems to be affordable, everybody wants power, so they're kind of fighting over power first, and if they sound okay, people are okay paying for them, but they need to be cheap. And if you're a little cheaper and make the same amount of power, which isn't hard to do on that car, then you're the system to go with, and you have to justify why yours is more. If you're for us to build a system for that car, it would probably be 2 to 3 times what you could pick one up for on Alibaba. And having that customer, that market segment justify wanting to do it, you have to have a really good reason. And our really good reason of sound isn't always justifiable to that segment. So Logan McCool asking, what exhaust made you smile? Bonus points if it made you giggle. I think if you watch the video, you'll actually see me giggle. And not because I think it particularly sounds good, but in that multi-megaphone video that we did on Alex's Jeep, you will see me laugh because that thing sounds so ridiculous. It doesn't sound like it should sound like that. And it was just the, back and forth of using, I think it was 5 or 6 megaphones that me and Cody had laying around. It just brought out the turbo whistle. It sounded pretty unique, pretty different, even for turbo Jeeps. And like I said, it wasn't particularly a great sound. It had probably the worst drone of any exhaust system we've ever produced. In actuality, Alex ended up asking me to go ahead and fix it by throwing a resonator on there, which killed some of that, but it was one of those ones after we heard it, I was kind of like, this thing sounds crazy. But the other one is the Radical RXCs that we've done, both with the EcoBoost and without on the Ford motors, the V6s. I don't know how we got those things to sound exotic, but when I heard that, it was one of those moments where I'm like, maybe we know what we're doing, and that kind of got the start using all our tricks. And then on its way out, someone asking me, do you even lift? I don't know if that's an insult or a joke, ironic one. Weightlifting is kind of my hobby, we'll say. It's one of those things that, I'm sure some of you guys like to watch various sports, like to, have even cars, because I do cars professionally. I don't really have any hobbies. I hang out with my family. I'm at work. I'm a business owner. And when I get free time, 3 to 4 times a week, I hit the gym, and 3 to 5 times a week, I do some sort of cross training and cardio, which kind of just keeps me sane and healthy and able to stay on the floor and do the crazy stuff that we do here at FMU. But now if there's anything we missed, just make sure you guys drop it in the comments. We're gonna read them, and if they're good enough, I'll be sure to answer them, maybe in the next segment, or I'll get back to them. But again, I appreciate you guys watching. It means a lot, helping support this channel and grow this channel. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. We've got lots more great content coming out this year, and it's been a blast, 2025 going into 2026. Happy New Year to everybody, and until next time, stay loud, stay curious, and Happy New Year.